Now, there are 8 hallmarks of a cult. Things that I've taken from different places, different studies, different experts to gauge whether or not something is a cult or engages in cult-like thinking. I want to explore with you if the right-wing political party, yes, the Republican Party, if it's set up to promote free thinking and individuality and authenticity, or if it's set up to exercise complete and utter, as much as possible, control. By the way, my name is Chad. I started this channel because I'm fascinated with cults and cult-like thinking. In this video, I'm gonna compare the tenets and the actions of those who lead the Republican Party to the 8 hallmarks of a cult. And I have to tell you that number 6 is quite interesting. After we go through these 8 hallmarks together, I want you to tell me in the comments, do you think that the Republican Party is an organization that is a cult, or at least exercises cult-like thinking to create the most control over its constituents as possible? Let's dive in. All right, hallmark number 1, charismatic leader that cannot be questioned and is going to save you. Now, I've said it a million times, I will say it again, charisma is relative. It's whatever is attractive to you. And what is attractive isn't the same for everybody. So as I think about the Republican Party, specifically Donald Trump, some people see him as the biggest monster in the world, and other people see him as their savior. If you don't believe me, you could just take a look at some of these images that are circulating of Donald Trump, and you tell me, is this guy worshiped? Is he a charismatic leader that can't be questioned and is gonna save everybody? There's this one where he's walking on water next to Jesus. That's a good one. There's also this one. How about this one? Just a light embrace. And then there's this. Oh, Saint Trump, Saint Trump. And finally, we have this one. Jesus has his hands on his shoulder. He is guiding Mr. Donald Trump. When you think about all of the things that we've learned about this man's character, I mean, pussy grabbing, Stormy Daniels, felony charges, all of these things, and yet he still has some of the most faithful followers that believe he is God's greatest gift to this earth. So you tell me, does the Republican Party check this box? All right, hallmark number 2, ideological purity. This is when a group or organization or a leader has doctrines that cannot be questioned without severe social or formal consequences. If you want an example of this, sit down with a blood red Republican, try to make the point that abortion isn't a black and white issue, that there are nuances that need to be considered in the human experience, and then see how long it takes for them to call you a murderer. Really, you could probably count the seconds on a single hand. Just to back up my point, check out a couple of these articles. This week, the Republican Study Committee, which represents 100% of House Republican leadership and nearly 80% of their members, released a budget that, among its many other anti-choice restrictions, endorses a national abortion ban with 0 exceptions for rape or incest. I know this is a heavy topic. However, when you're so locked into your doctrine and you can't see any nuances in it, that is a clear sign that this is cult-like thinking, that we can't take into any experiences outside of ourselves. Here's another one. They were adamant that a woman who received an abortion would receive the same criminal consequences as one who drowns her baby. Under a bill they promoted, pregnant people would face murder charges, even if they were raped or doctors determined the procedure was needed to save their own life. Doctors who attempted to help patients conceive through in vitro fertilization, a fertility treatment used by millions of Americans, could also be locked up for destroying embryos. And certain conceptions, such as Plan B, would be banned. The taking of a life is murder and it's illegal, said Representative Danny McCormick told a committee of the state lawmakers who considered the bill in May, right after the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade was leaked. No compromises. No more waiting, Brian Gunter, the pastor who suggested McCormick be the one to introduce the legislation, told the committee. This is one ideological principle that the right really sticks to, but it's one really clear example of there are no exceptions, no nuance. So is this ideological purity? All right, number 3, conformity and control. Deciding what you can wear, what you can eat, where you should spend your money. A cult wants to control every decision that you make, and they use different tactics to do this. Shame is one of the greatest, it's probably the greatest tool that a cult has to keep you in control. Let me tell you one word that shame usually shows up as: sin. If I can put the morality around it that you're offending God, that is the number one tool of the Republican Party for control. You see, the left has this appeal to people and helping people, and that's kind of their shame-based doctrination. But the Republicans, they have God. They have religion. It's an appeal to God and offending God, which is called sin. So, a good example of this is marriage equality. Marriage equality is one of the most hot topics for Republicans. However, it's shifted drastically over the last couple of years. I mean, I've looked at the statistics. It's insane how many Republicans have now accepted marriage equality. But why in the world does a political party need to decide who you love and who you marry? If you don't believe me, check out this quote. Mitch McConnell saying the act is an attack on millions of Americans, particularly people of faith who believe marriage is between one man and one woman, and the legitimate distinction exists between men and women concerning family formation that should be recognized in the law. So what my friend Mitch is trying to say there is, if you are a man and you love another man, that is a direct attack on me, my faith, and ultimately an offense to, the big man with the big balls upstairs. I don't want to say big balls. So my friends, what do you think? Is labeling something a sin an attempt for control? All right, hallmark number 4, probably one of the weakest arguments for the Republican Party being a cult, but we'll explore it anyway. It's mind-altering practices like meditation, chanting, or mind-altering drugs. Now, I don't believe Trump and his cronies are handing out any kind of drugs that would alter my state of mind so that I would actually follow them. However, I think maybe prayer, if I'm really making a stretch, could be considered one of these things. Now, I think prayer is completely benign. It doesn't affect me at all. It doesn't have this result that I'm, wanting to now follow them and I didn't before. However, it can deepen. If Trump poses in front of a protest, for example, holding the Bible, that is a signal to me that he is making appeal as a religious leader in a way that prayer might go along with that. It might be another point of indoctrination, especially when you talk about people saying things like pray for our president. That's fine. That's a comforting thing. And it could be a further tool to indoctrinate those who he knows are already bent towards believing him and following him. So that one's a stretch, but I'll let you decide. Number 5, isolation. This is where cults or cult-like thinking get their followers to stop engaging with the people that they love, the people that they're closest. Usually this is close friends and family, especially if they don't believe in what the cult is teaching. Because obviously, if they're talking with their friends and family, people they love and respect, and who are thinking freely and soundly, might lend them into the idea that maybe this thing isn't what it says it is. So they try to isolate their members. This isolation can look a lot of different ways. One of the ways is discrediting the information that the people who care about you, who are wanting you to think freely, is giving you. Now, I'm going to show you an example with a few caveats. This is Mr. Donald Trump. And I'll just show you the clip first and then we'll talk about it. But this is one of the tactics. Discrediting information is one of the tactics to get you to be isolated from the people who might be thinking clearly. Take a look.
And honestly, folks, it was such a beautiful, beautiful visit and afternoon. But they can make anything bad because they are the fake, disgusting news.
This is so interesting. This isn't anything new. You've seen it a million times. Donald Trump calling them fake news. The thing I want to point out is, he may be correct. That's what's interesting about this. There are half-truths to what he's saying. I'm not trusting of mainstream media. That is absolutely for sure. However, I will consider the information they're giving me, and then I will test it myself and see if it's true or not. But his attempt to call it fake news, disgusting news over and over and over again is to get people to not look at or read or look into some of the things that some of these news outlets are saying. And look, they're telling half-truths too. So there is some merit probably to some of the things that they're talking about, but he wants to shut it down completely, which is the hallmark of isolation. To isolate people from information, the seed of doubt will never be planted. Are you ready for this? This is the most dangerous question they can ask themselves. What if it's not true? What if it's not true? Because the moment somebody asks themselves that question, now they're going to explore. The brain can't let that off. It's an open loop. It's the Garzonic effect. Zargonic effect. It opens a loop and the brain must close it. So that's the most dangerous question that somebody can be asking. All right, my friends, hallmark number 6, setting up a us versus them mentality. Do I really need to say much here? I mean, the entire political system is built on an us versus them mentality. If you hear any candidate speak, if you hear any debate, they're not debating issues and how they're gonna solve them, or they're talking about how it's us against them and we have to beat them and look how terrible they are and look how good we are. That is an us versus them mentality. I just want to just watch the beginning of this video. It's very, very interesting.
President Donald Trump's rise was fueled by voters fed up with the status quo.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you.
It's us and them, and he tapped into it.
We can't continue to allow China to rape our country.
He knows what needs to be done. Make America great again.
And his rhetoric continues to polarize the country.
President Trump using an ugly, vulgar expression that is racist.
So I don't understand what the sin is. What's good for us? Are we allowed to ask that question? Or is that racist?
Build the wall.
But the politics of division aren't new.
Build the wall.
Not only is Donald Trump a master at creating an us versus them between the two party lines, he's also very good at creating an us versus them America to other countries. All right, my friends, number 7, apocalyptic thinking. This is the preparation for an apocalypse or some sort of cataclysmic event, secretly in attempt for more control or manipulation. So you may be thinking to yourself, what is the Republican apocalypse? That's interesting. It's much easier to answer in the Democratic Party. For the Republican Party, you have to look a little bit deeper, a little bit more nuanced. The right's apocalyptic event sounds something like this. They're trying to take your rights away. If they pass this one bill, pretty soon all of your rights will be stripped, you will be a slave, and you'll be answering to a dictator. Not to mention you'll be living in the streets and eating bugs. We'll basically be North Korea next year. I found this article pretty interesting on the Washington Post. It takes quotes from different leaders in the Republican Party that illustrate this exact apocalyptic thinking. Check it out. Speaking to conservative activists this month just outside of DC, former President Donald Trump promised to be your warrior and your justice, vowing, "And to those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution." Wow. Okay. The same day, speaking to a group of conservative donors in Florida, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley warned, Joe Biden and the Democrats are destroying our people's patriotism and swapping it out for dangerous self-loathing. And speaking at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in California on March 5th, Florida Governor DeSantis argued that his state offered a refuge from a Democratic-led dystopia, where people's rights are curtailed and their livelihoods are destroyed. The trio of comments from the 2024 Republican presidential hopefuls, either declared or expected, underscore the dark undertones and apocalyptic rhetoric that have pervaded much of the Republican Party in the era of Trump. They warned that Biden and a radical woke mob of liberals are determined to destroy and ruin the nation. This is a nice little combination, a nice little cocktail of hallmarks of a cult because we got a little bit of us versus them, but then we also have it, sugared on top is apocalyptic thinking. That's fun. Okay, hallmark number 5 is resource domination in time, energy, and money. This is where a cult or a cult leader or cult-like thinking wants to completely deplete you of all of your resources so that you're dependent on the cult. So oftentimes this gets in the way of work, it gets in the way of family, it gets in the way of hobby. You have to give everything that you have to this organization. This one's tricky and subtle because most political parties just say, hey, just believe us, just vote for us, believe us, and we'll take care of everything. You just go about your life, do your thing, go to work, come home, watch the game. Don't worry, we've got you taken care of. So in that sense, it feels like they're not taking much of our resources at all. However, there is, of course, taxation. Normal, I get it, taxation's needed. Sometimes it feels a bit exorbitant, especially when you see how the money is managed and the decisions that are made with it. And lucky for us, this price of resource domination is actually paid by lobbyists and really rich donors so that they can get their way and they own that political party and the decisions that they're making. Congratulations. If you're a member of the Republican Party, you're just another pawn in this game played with high-paid politicians and really rich lobbyists and donors. So tell me, is the Republican Party a cult? Do they promote free thinking, authenticity, individuality, or are they grasping for as much control as they can possibly get, using tactics to play with your thinking and your mind in order to create that control and that opportunity for themselves? So please tell me in the comments, in your opinion, is it a cult or is it not? And why you think that. And after that, watch this video I did called, Is the Left a Cult? That's right, it's the antithesis to this video. I'd love your opinion over there as well. And as always, remember, the greatest fight to be fought is the preservation of our freedom of thought. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.